Hello everyone, thanks for watching this first ever skill collector video. Sorry for the video quality. I do have a nice microphone, but I haven't gotten a good camera yet. Today I want to have a little talk about intermittent fasting. So for about 3-4 years now, I've not eaten before 4 p.m. It always takes a bit of explaining when meeting new people, and I made a website about it once, but seeing as that was a couple thousand words and people don't actually like to read research, I figured I'd make a little video and post about it. So, intermittent fasting is the practice of eating only 8 hours a day. So that's one block of time. In my case, that's between 4 p.m. and 12 p.m. And for the rest of the day, you just don't eat. You're allowed to drink tea, coffee, water, but nothing that will spike your blood sugar. For some reason, people always ask, does that include breakfast? Why, yes. It's just you eat within that block, and for the rest, you just don't eat. Recently, I moved my block a little to between 3 and 11 just for convenience purposes. Anyway, I found out that only now it starts becoming a bit of a hype, especially in the States. For weight loss, it's not the most effective thing, and if you want to do something like this is kind of a inefficient way to do that. For other reasons, however, it's absolutely awesome. So we're going to go into that for a second. A couple years ago, during university, I did a little piece of research on Resveratrol and the effects of. So it's a chemical you find, for example, in wine, though commercially it's extracted from Japanese knotweed. But in certain animals, you see that they live longer and have less disease if you give it to them. Humans, it's a bit less so because our liver it breaks it down. But in one of the research papers, I read that it has a similar effect to intermittent fasting or severe caloric restriction. So either eating very little in a day or only eating part of a day. And the effects are mostly twofold. On the one hand, health, and on the other hand, longevity. Longevity being living longer. So yeah, caloric restriction and intermittent fasting appear to have similar effects. This is a piece of research that I'll mention in the blog, so the post attached to this. And most of it is based on genetics. And with that, I don't mean to say that you need to be genetically susceptible to intermittent fasting. Most people seem to see DNA as a blueprint. That's wrong. Don't do that. DNA is more of a if this then that programming. For example, if sunlight shines in your skin, your body will activate the pieces of DNA to produce the protein that makes your skin darker. Simple example, but like that, it has a lot of if this then that's. So your DNA is never on entirely at the same time. There's parts that's on, there's parts that off. The science of studying this is called epigenetics, so what activates certain pieces of genes and what shuts down others. And intermittent fasting is one of the factors that activates and deactivates certain parts of DNA. And in this case, with intermittent fasting, it activates a gene group called SIRT1, and it messes with some transcription factors called FOXO, forkhead box. Yeah, it's a really strange name for a protein. Anyway, so the effects are in the short term that your body switches from a more glucose-based metabolism to a more fat-based metabolism. And personally, I noticed that difference in being able to focus for longer periods of time and being able to just handle things better mentally when you're working. Which is actually ironic because most people think that if you don't eat during the day, you're going to be hungry all day and not being able to focus. Maybe the first day, but your body is pretty adaptive. For those of you actually wanting to try this, though, don't expect your body to not be hungry during the day anymore after like a week. Depending on how old you are, you've been training your body for decades to eat multiple times a day. So don't expect it to just simply go, oh, okay, let's just not eat during the day anymore. But so long as you know it's not harmful, you know, it's not that big of a thing to cope with. So yeah, short term change in metabolism. Long term, however, is more interesting. Because most genetic effects, they take a while to express themselves. There's a very big list of things that are the effect of intermittent fasting in the central nervous system, in your blood value. Some people do lose some weight, but it's more that it brings you to a certain balance. metabolism, your cells become more resilient. My personal favorites are neuroprotection. So in certain animals, putting them on an intermittent fasting diet protects them from certain neurological diseases or neurological damage. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get Parkinson's or something if you do intermittent fasting. A lot of this research is done on animals and is not ready for humans yet. Also because if you want to do research in humans, it takes a lot longer. If you want to test a certain diet on a rat, you're not going to need as long as if you want to see if, I would be healthy in 50 years based on intermittent fasting. However, you can use this research as a base to sort of project whether it's a good idea to do this or not. So yeah, one of the things, neuroprotection. Another thing, synaptogenesis. So it's easier for the neurons in your brain to make new connections. And those two are very handy if you want to focus during the day. And blood sugar regulation, which is also one of my favorites. That and longevity. The big list of everything you can find in the blog post with the original research attached. Now, the reason that this works is that your body has a number of mechanisms to cope with external input. So, for example, if you have some sort of stressor, for example, a chemical in your body has, well, it's morning here, by the way, so your body sees a certain chemical and needs to deal with it, and it has mechanisms in place to do so. And in biology, you'd say that there is stress, and stress doesn't necessarily mean psychological stress. It can mean a substance, exercise, whatever. Something puts something like stress on your body. And your body deals with that. Now, what intermittent fasting appears to do is it activates those defenses without the actual stress factor. And one of the ways to explain this would be from an evolutionary perspective. So, for example, if we would still be cavemen hunting about, if you cannot find food, it makes no sense to make your body weaker. It only makes sense to make your body stronger so that you can go find food. This is why I have a bit of a problem with the bodybuilding fitness view that you need to eat all day long, because otherwise your body starts eating its own muscle. Yeah, I know, right? Fitness people. I mean, it does on first glance seem to make sense, but from an evolutionary perspective, it doesn't. If you can't find food, your body wants to get stronger so that it can find food. Luckily, we don't have to hunt for food, and we don't have a lot of the problems that the cavemen did. So activating these defenses basically just put your body on a different level, meaning you're able to deal with a lot of different stuff on both the biochemical level, mental level, more than you usually would. And for me, the past 4 years, it's been pretty great. I've tried a couple things on and off, mostly intermittent fasting based on a day schedule, so only eating 8 hours a day. For a couple of weeks, I tried not eating for an entire day and then eating for another day, but that didn't really feel very nice for me. And I would recommend everyone to try it. It's not really that big of a change to your life. It seems like a very big thing, but it only makes your life easier, really, because during the day you don't have to worry about food. And for me particularly, that is a great benefit, because there are certain things I like to eat and not like to eat from a health perspective. And not having to worry about food during the day, breakfast, lunch, when you go out with people for lunch and, everyone takes a sandwich and you being the non-bread eater, it gets a bit awkward. Actually, people get used to this concept pretty fast, and it's a great story at lunch if you're meeting new people as well. So I highly recommend trying it out. If you do your research, read up a bit, know what you're getting into. If you're doing it for weight loss, don't go for that. Go for Tim Ferriss's slow carb diet or something. Anyway, so this is the end of my first video. It's rather unscripted, as you may have noticed. If you have any feedback, let me know. And well, if you have a YouTube account, I would love if you would subscribe, like this video, share it, etc. And otherwise, just head over to skillcollector.com and check out the latest articles. So, thanks again for watching, and have a nice day.